Shoot. Here are our DFS picks for the Cowboys Commanders Showdown slate for DraftKings and FanDuel. And we are going to focus on why each play makes sense using matchup data, ownership, and recent form. We are starting with captain choices. Dak Prescott at 11,000 with a dash rank of 100 is our top captain. Washington have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 30. He projects for 21 points, and he carries 52% ownership. He averages 21 fantasy points per game and has scored 19, 12, and 23 in his last three. The field confidence plus ceiling in a soft matchup puts him at the top. Essentially, Sports noted Dak has had a superb season by most metrics, and also highlighted he was still setting franchise marks even after Dallas was eliminated. So we are not concerned about motivation. George Pickens at 15,300 with a dash rank of 100 is our favorite leverage captain. Washington again have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 30. He projects for 17 points with only 31% ownership despite a 20 fantasy points per game season and a 29-burger one game ago. Essentially, Sports covered Pickens being on the verge of Cowboys history and the mid-game franchise notes. That aligns with the spike week profile we want for captain leverage. Javonte Williams at 14,400, dash rank 84. Is our contrarian captain pivot if you want to flip the build to a Dallas ground script. Washington have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 30. He projects for 15 points at 45% ownership, and his recent 6-15-15 shows a touch-driven floor. Newsflow has him listed as the Cowboys' starting running back this season. Monitor his questionable tag, pre-lock, but if in, he fits game scripts where Dallas controls and bleeds clock. Quarterbacks. Dak Prescott is a core flex even if you do not captain him. The combination of elite dash rank 100, soft overall matchup, and stable projection is exactly what we pay for on Showdown. Ownership is high, but we are comfortable eating it because the ceiling case is clean. Articles from Essentially Sports this week underscore that Dallas are still playing with pride, and that Dak keeps stacking milestones. That supports full snap and aggressive usage. Josh Johnson at 12,000 is a viable large field pivot. He faces the absolute worst defense overall by opponent rank at 32, projects for 15 points, and is 46% owned. His recent logs show limited action, so we treat his projection as volatile because projections are less reliable for quarterbacks who have not started at least 3 games. The Sporting News reminded everyone he is a 15-team journeyman, which cuts both ways. Experience with chaos, but also high variance. We will pair him with a cheap Commanders pass catcher when building Johnson lineups. Pass catchers. George Pickens we already love as a captain or flex. His usage spike in production last week matched the soft overall matchup. If you captain Dak, we still want Pickens and flex to capture passing touchdowns. The franchise history note from Essentially Sports adds confidence that the team is feeding him. Jake Ferguson at 9,300 with a dash rank of 84 is our tight end bring-up with Dak stacks. Washington have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 30. He projects for 10 points at only 13% ownership, and he has posted 5, 4, and 12 in his last 3. He gives us mid-tier salary relief and red zone correlation with Dak. There was noise this month about the controversial OPI flag on him and Dak speaking out, per Essentially Sports, which does not affect projection, but does remind us he is involved in critical situations. Running backs. Javonte Williams we covered as a script-dependent core. If Dallas gets ahead, his touches and a soft overall defense match well. Keep an eye on his status. If he is confirmed in, we like him in at least half of our Dak builds to capture all Dallas touchdowns. Kickers and defenses. Brandon Aubrey at 8,400 projects for 10 with 42% ownership. Washington have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 30. His last three are 5, 17, and 23, and he owns big leg equity. The NFL and multiple outlets highlighted his 57-yard record-setting kick this year per Essentially Sports, which supports long field goal upside in stalled drives. Jake Moody at 7,500 projects for 8 with 28% ownership and faces the absolute worst defense overall with an opponent rank of 32. His last three of 4, 13, and 0 scream variants, but on a slate where both QBs project to move the ball. We like including at least one kicker in many builds. Cowboys D at 6,000 projects for 6 with 16% ownership. We care more about the turnover profile of Washington's offense and Johnson's volatility than opponent rank for defense. And given Johnson's journeyman variance, the Cowboys D is viable in lineups that fade Johnson or play him without captaining him. Commanders D at 5,100 projects for 4 with 10% ownership and face a tough defense overall with an opponent rank of 3. This is a pure game theory punt that bets on Dak mistakes and short fields. We will keep exposure very light given Prescott chalk and the favorable overall matchup for Dallas. Value pool and salary savers. Treylon Burks at 3,000 projects for 7 with 15% ownership and faces the absolute worst defense overall with an opponent rank of 32. He just put up 5, and his one-handed TD earlier this season drew national attention. As The Guardian recapped, he is our preferred sub-3K receiver for Johnson stacks to get different. Chris Rodriguez Jr. at 2,500 projects for 10 with virtually no ownership and faces the absolute worst defense overall with an opponent rank of 32. His last 3 are 14, 0, and 5, which is exactly the type of boom-bust we want for leverage. If the Commanders lean into the run or control early, he can break the slate at low ownership. Debo Samuel Sr. at 11,400 projects for 11 with 0% ownership and faces the absolute worst defense overall with an opponent rank of 32. His recent logs are steady at 7, 7, and 7. The ownership discount is the appeal. We will use him sparingly as a mid-tier bringback in Dak captain builds. Luke Schoonmaker at 1,800 projects low, but is a viable punt at 2% ownership. He posted 0, 4, and 2 in his last 3, and he fits lineups where you jam 2 studs and hope for one end zone target or a couple of catches to get you there. How we are building lineups. Primary stack. Dak captain with Pickens and Ferguson or Aubrey. Run back with one of Burks, Moody, or Rodriguez to leverage Washington's absolute worst defense overall for their side. Leverage stack. Pickens captain with Dak in flex. Add Aubrey for kicker correlation and bring back Moody or Burks. Contrarian script. Johnson captain with Burks and Moody. Bring back Cowboys D or Ferguson to account for mistakes while still allowing Washington volume. We are keeping this build under field exposure given Johnson's projection volatility. Quick news notes to justify angles. Essentially, Sports highlighted Dak's superb season and ongoing franchise marks despite elimination, which reassures us about ceiling and effort. The Sporting News profiled Josh Johnson's 15-team journey, reminding us volatility is part of his profile. So we pair him with cheaper Commanders pieces. Essentially, sports and league coverage of Brandon Aubrey's 57-yard field goal, and record supports kicker upside in a slate that could feature stalled red zone trips. The Guardian's coverage of Treylon Burks' one-handed TD underlines his high-variance, big-play profile, perfect for showdown tournaments. Our pool is tight at the top, with Dak, Pickens, and Javonte, and we are mixing in kickers plus 1 to 2 low-owned Commanders to balance ownership. Good luck tonight.